absolutely insane finish to a game. I mean, every time you think you've seen it all and it's been the most amazing thing you've ever seen, something else happens and you can't even believe it. So I am here on YouTube as well as Hot Mic. So remember, if you want to come on the show, download the Hot Mic app, request to come in. I will bring you in. We'll chop it up. You don't need to hear me speaking the entire time. So let's do that. I love doing it. We had a whole bunch of people in the last time who did this, and it's a great way. If you're on the Hot Mic app and you come on the show, you'll be on YouTube and everyone can hear you. It's a great time. So welcome everybody across the board here. We got a bunch of people over on the Hot Mic already. We got a nice little dialogue going here in the chat. And I'm going to pop out the live stream or the chat over here on YouTube as well to keep my eye on that. But remember, if you want to grab me on YouTube side, you can always do the super chat feature. That's the best way to get my attention and get your question answered right away. But man, what are we all thinking here, guys? This is pretty crazy stuff. I mean, certainly the Suns, I think the biggest thing I could take away from this game was that the Suns were running really good team offense and generating really good looks across the board pretty consistently. Meanwhile, the Clippers were spreading them out and then utilizing their individual talents to create really tough shots, but they were making them and hanging in the entire time. So it was an interesting dichotomy to me to see two teams kind of attacking this way. And, you know, by the way, you cannot say the mid-range is dead anymore after watching this game because these guys were hitting mid-range shots all over the place, key important shots where they were curling around screens, off the dribble, all sorts of stuff that, you know, are vital shots that you need to be able to have when you're playing in a playoff game and they're going to chase and they're going to get on the high side to stop three-point shots from getting off. And if you're not used to shooting those, then how are you supposed to make them? If you're going to follow the analytical guidelines and shooting only threes at the rim, it's going to be a problem when you get to the high-pressure situation of a conference finals where you have to make that, and you don't have any frame of reference. Your nervous system isn't trained for that in games like this. So I'm not so sure that was a choke, though. I see one of the comments, Zion, over on the Hot Mic app. I'm looking through the comments here. It wasn't a choke necessarily by the Clippers. That last play, I'm watching the replay again now. So the genius of that play is, you know, usually what I'll say is if you want your player to shoot the ball and get open on an out-of-bounds play, you have him screen first. Now, especially if you have him screening like to a cutter going toward the basket, because there's a natural inclination to want to step in that direction and maybe stop the cutter first before you worry about the screener. And if the screener is Devin Booker, for instance, that's going to get him open. Now, this was a little bit different because there was a baseline out of bounds play. They didn't have very much time at all. And if you notice, they put Boogie Cousins on the ball to be a big, you know, guy to try and sort of eliminate that lob. But that simply didn't present any problems. And in fact, I kind of want to look. It looked like Big Boogie was in the right angle, but you know, there was no problem from Devin Booker from Jay Crowder to throw that lob. Now, also remember, when it's coming from out of bounds like that, it's not a shot. So there is no notion of a goaltend. Now, I'm going to get Ronnie on the show for this one tomorrow just to go over that and make that completely clear what that rule is. But generally, yeah, you can grab a ball over the cylinder when it's coming from out of bounds because it's not technically in play until it's touched. So we'll get Ronnie to really to describe this. I'm sure he'll do it really perfectly. But that's generally the idea there is that it's until it's touched, it's not really inbounds or alive. And so once he touches it, he's now like dunking it in. That's legal. But wow. And then the question then is like, what could they have done, you know, other than what they did to try and prevent that? I'm not so sure. I'm going to go through it again and look at what Zubats is doing, but he gets the back screen. That's tough. So that would have been Booker's man would have needed to get there. By the way, Zubats did recover, and he was an inch away from getting a hand on that ball and knocking it away. That won't happen again. You won't see a play like that for a win for a few years, I don't think. I don't think I saw that in the regular season, and certainly not in the playoff game like that at the end. You're not going to see that. Jay Triano dribbled the exact same play for Tyson Chandler a couple of years ago. It had to be more than a couple of years ago if it was Tyson Chandler, right? Although I think Chandler had been playing maybe up until a couple of years ago, barely. But that's interesting. So that actually sounds familiar in somewhere in the recesses of my brain. I can kind of maybe still see that. But yeah, those free throws will haunt Paul George. Absolutely. Well, how about, I mean, Paul George almost threw the ball out of bounds, on that Zubats where he hits all Zubats in the back. And then, luckily the replay ends up showing it going back to the Clippers. So already Paul George is a little bit behind the 8-ball. And then he missed, remind me, he missed he missed 2 free throws. Then he made 2 after that, right? But those other 2 before that, I believe, were really, really key. So, hey, Michael Buono, thank you so much for a super chat. Love to see it pop up there. Thank you for being so generous. The comment is, wow, could you talk about Book's big shot over Pat Bev? Looked like he shot it on the way down on purpose to let Bev come down. Do you ever teach that? So that was the thing I was thinking about. So first of all, Pat Beverly I thought was very effective. Let's get to the let me open up the box score. Devin Booker was 5 for 16. I would hazard a guess that maybe 10 or 11 of those shots were against Patrick Beverly, and maybe 3 of them went down, right? I don't think he shot very well against Beverly. Now, Beverly didn't get a good jump off of that on that contest in my mind as I'm remembering that. And so the hanging in the air part, generally when you're off the move on a mid-range, is what I teach. Yeah, a lot of times, especially if you're off the dribble and you have all this energy up thrust into the air because you're going fast and pulling up, the way to temper that is to hang for a second. And usually you can do that because you're open, and that's why you are pulling up in the first place. And Booker does have the benefit of having an extra 3 or 4 inches on Beverly as well. So he knows he can elevate and have that clearance where maybe on the way down a little bit, he can still get that off. So I'm thinking that that's what was going on there with that shot, was that he had all this momentum and this power going up that the only way he could kind of, temper that and make it. Remember, this is for a 14, 15 footer. This is not a 3-point shot. He'll hang in the air to kind of that's what it was really for. Does it let him clear the way? Sort of, but I think he had a clear shot of the rim anyway, even if he released it on the way up. But really great call on that one. Really just some amazing stuff here. But let's see here. We have good questions here. Isn't the lob the only way to score? No. When there's 0.9 seconds left, you can catch and shoot. I mean, those guys, that's we trained guys in high school to be able to catch and shoot inside of 0.7 seconds. So you could definitely get a shot off there. Let's see here. And Chandler was playing for the Suns when they did that. I can almost picture that in my head. That had to be 3 years ago, right? I don't think it could be more recent than that. How do I feel about the Suns winning off of a free timeout? That's interesting because, by the way, the Clippers got the benefit too with the whatever 0.8 seconds left. They didn't have any timeouts left, but the review took so long. The Clippers ended up getting, 2 timeouts worth of a break as well. So that balances out, I suppose, if you want to say that. But, with the rules where they are, the referees have to go through it and have to do the replay. So there's not much you can do except, let them do it. I mean, here's the thing. You could sort of send all the players away from the coaches. And I know that the high school, I feel like I've seen that happen on certain timeouts like that where the players can't go, well, I can't sit in the bench and make them stand up. But what's the difference? But wow. Right. The 0.4 from Derek Fisher, good call on that one. Although I think isn't the rule changed from that too, where they have maybe the replay comes in off of that shot because it didn't really get off on time. I can't remember. It was too close. But the Booker deflection by Beverly. Okay, so Noel Thomas, great question. Let's talk about that replay they have. Beverly knocks the ball out of bounds. He's clearly knocking it toward the sideline. Booker's clearly dribbling the ball straight down. And you can find 2 frames maybe of the fingernail of, the fingertips of Devin Booker touching the ball. We saw this happen against with Virginia versus Texas Tech, perhaps. Maybe it was Texas Tech. I thought it was off of Virginia, and I thought Virginia loses that game. But now I'm thinking that Virginia won. But remember that play in the NCAA finals or Final Four, one of those games. Same exact play, pretty much. The ball got tipped. The guy was still dribbling, whatever, and it somehow you can still find a couple frames where the ball was touching the ball handler. It's a tough one, man. It's a tough one. I don't know if you're going to use replay, then you're going to have to use replay. There can't be any leeway here where you can say, well, he hit it that way, so it's got to be off of him, even though we see the replay. So it's got to be, you got to call it the way it is, and that was last touch by the offensive player. So, so either get rid of the replay altogether or just have to deal with those kind of plays. And then hopefully, it doesn't decide the game, right? Because I get it. The 9 out of 10 times when it happens throughout the other part of the game, it's off of the defense every time. And that's hard, and you have to live with that. Like if they lost the game off of that, then that's what it would have to be. Now, Here's the elephant in the room that no one's really talking about. CP3 comes back for game 3. Now, imagine that. You're taking a starter, the second best starter on a team that's already won 2 games on close, tough-fought games, and you're going to insert him back in the lineup now. I don't see how the Clippers win the series at all. Okay, now they've already were down 2-0 before, and they were not scared. Remember, they came back. They're like, no worries. We're going to come back home and take care of business. And they did against the Mavericks. But this is different. This is not like the Suns. I mean, let's see. What did the Suns shoot from 3 tonight? The Suns were 6 for 26, 23%. They were not hot at all from behind the arc, whereas the Mavericks were scorching. And you could say, well, they're not going to keep shooting that way, which was pretty much true. Nelson from Canada, thank you so much. Suns or Bucks to win the finals. Thank you. I hope you still love my stuff after today's video, because man, were people triggered. And I just to throw out there, I saw a lot of they had to be Bucks fans or Giannis fans really upset with the video today, but I don't know. I watched it again, and I guess if I had thrown in a couple of missed calls by the refs that went in favor of the Nets, that would have made it better. But I don't know. I just try to point out some things that I saw. And, if anybody is going to, like Giannis's game, it's me. It's certainly I've earned enough, whatever on that end, because I've done so many videos where I've showed how great Giannis is. That said, we're getting to the point now where, when you have a Giannis sag like that and it comes up that works for everybody, it is a little frustrating for me to watch a guy who's a 2-time MVP lack enough skill to be guarded like a normal MVP. But nonetheless, hope you guys don't get too upset and they come right back for tomorrow's game, which would be a great video breakdown of this. So anyway, the Suns or the Bucks to win the finals. Nelson, I don't know, man. I think it's the Suns. They're the healthiest. I guess you could still, with the Bucks, they're still pretty healthy, although Giannis is banged up a bit. But they're missing DiVincenzo, and the Suns have their whole team. So I suppose if you're going to look at it that way, I'm going for the Suns. They are really playing well, and God darn it, does Monty Williams run a really nice offense? So the only question is, are they going to be able to take care of business on the 3-point line, when they get a lot of open threes from the Bucks defense? I would think so, with Chris Paul running the show. Neeson Nadu, thank you so much from New Zealand. Wow. Do you think that Ty Lue plays Rondo more to combat the IQ of CP3? Also the breakdowns. Thank you. Do I think that Ty Lue plays Rondo more to combat the IQs? Well, I see. When CP3 comes back, does Rondo get more minutes? How many minutes did he get tonight? I don't think he got a ton, especially because Beverly was really, I thought, playing well. Although he still does some dumb fouls, man. Wow, he took a football foul in the middle there for no reason. That was really strange. Rondo got his 17 minutes, 2 for 6. He was 2 for 4 from 3. He was definitely shooting some threes. I was like, all right, you go, Rondo, and +2 in the plus minus. So I don't know. I would think that Rondo is about where he's going to be. He's going to get his 17 to 20, 21 minutes a game. I think that's what they like him as, and that's what you'll see. Now, does a guy like Terrence Mann get some more minutes? It was interesting because they changed the starting lineups, and they put Zubats in, and Zubats was terrific down the stretch. He had that key block. He had good hands, finished well. And that block that he does and then sets up the that awesome finish by Paul George. I mean, that was when you think, okay, they're going to win this game, right? There's no way. But it was interesting to know that the starting lineup from last game was a very healthy plus 18 net rating. They had a very high offensive rating. The defensive rating was also very high, but the net rating was like plus 18, plus 19. So that starting lineup with Mann in the starting lineup and Batum in the first game did really well. So I wonder, what Lue was sort of doing as far as wanting to completely change that up, they did well enough, to be close in the game 1 too. Don't forget, let's come on the show, guys. If you're over there on the Hot Mic app, download it, install it, find me at B-Ball Breakdown, request to come on the show. I want to hear your questions. I want to hear your thoughts. So, don't be shy. I'm sure there's a bunch of people over here right now. If you're over there on YouTube land, then come on over, download the Hot Mic app. You can still watch it that way, and you can chop it up with me in front of everybody else. So do that. Why not? Don't you guys want to, be part of the show? I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. I think we have another, some more Super Chats. My goodness gracious. Thank you so much, guys. Let's see. Khalil Nixon. Devin Booker showing the importance of having a mid-range game. Absolutely. But what is that hashtag? Low start. Low start. Hello start. Anyway, I don't know. Somebody explained that hashtag to me. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to tweet this out. Let me tweet out everybody that we know that we're having this live stream. Okay, so absolutely. But how about Paul George? Paul George was showing everybody. Luke Kennard coming around shooting mid-range. You know what I mean? It's really important. Maybe that's what the video is going to be tomorrow. The mid-range. I was actually going to do that and look through all the playoff games and all the key mid-range shots. I'm going to do that anyways. Maybe when we get to the finals, we'll have a little bit extra, a day or two in there, because there's, without question, it's like these are key shots that you're getting that you need to be able to hit. So completely important. Marvin Acosta, well, thank you. Wow, I got two here. So I got one question. Let me answer that one first. Coach, love your content, all you do for the ball community. But do you think the Clippers still have a chance in the series? Love from New York. Marvin, I don't think they have a chance. Not if you're going to bring CP3 back and they're already up 2-0. I don't see how they do it. Now, let's not forget, Kawhi Leonard is not there. I don't think he's coming back. So that's, really too bad for the Clippers. And it shows you that they are really good. And Paul George is really good. He really, let's see here. What was his shooting percentage tonight? 10 for 23, but he's 1 for 8 from 3. Now he's going to rue a couple turnovers there, and 5 for 10 from the free throw line. That was really uncharacteristic. So, in a game like that, when you lose by 1 at the end, 5 for 10 from the free throw line, that's going to be a brutal one to look at when everybody else shot really well. So, but he still was right there. He hit some really important shots. You can't just take it away. Oh, and now we have some people who want to come in. I'm going to go left to right as far as I understand it on the hot mic. That's the order people request. So let's bring in Daniel first. So I hit the button, Daniel, and then there's a button that you have to hit it, Daniel, and let you in, and then we'll chop it up. So let's get our first guest in here. What's up, Daniel?
Hey, what's up, Coach?
Good to hear from you.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask on campaign. I'm kind of a casual viewer, so I didn't really have any exposure to campaign except for these last couple of series. And man, this guy's got some. I don't know. Is he for real? I see the way he can get to the rim. He's got this sort of kind of like elastic slingshot extension to the rim, and I think it's sustainable from what I see. But I'm not sure. What are your thoughts?
Let me tell you, this guy's been doing this all year long, and it's been the greatest revelation of the NBA season. He deserves his own. Maybe that's the video will be that tomorrow. It's only a campaign highlight video, because this guy went from like a kind of a joke, dancing around with Russell Westbrook in OKC before the games, ineffective like in Chicago. I need to sit down with this guy and interview him and find out what changed. Because I'm kind of curious. Maybe he had all these skills and just didn't get an opportunity or whatever it is. But he is so confident now. I mean, he was finger rolling step throughs on Paul George in the lane. That doesn't happen, right? That's crazy. But he's got all the tools. He's got a funky shot, but it looks good.
He acts like he belongs. He walks like he's one of them.
Oh, yeah. I tweeted it out. I said, you know what? He's so confident he probably could cure disease right now. He's playing so well. And I can't tell you how I love that story. I love seeing him do this. This is legit. He's been doing it all playoff long. He actually, I think he won another game for them earlier in the playoffs, as my memory serves. At least one where he had a big game. Actually, we could probably find that out looking at the thing. But yeah, campaign, man, get on board. It's a great story.
Yeah, I think so. Leading both teams in scoring tonight. I think he gets the game ball. Anyways, that was just my comment.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Perfect. Great to bring that up. I meant to bring him up. Thank you for doing that for me. All right. So against the Lakers, actually they lost that game. He had 19. And then so his big games earlier on were in some losses. But he's been good, and he can do this. We have some more super chats before I bring on the next guest before Kevin comes on. Let me just take care of some super chats. Again, thank you guys so much. 1-star rating. What about the Hawks? I have them picked. I don't know. I gotta see that first, and then a game or two to see how that's going to work. But they have a shot. They have a shot at making the finals. It would be an amazing story. I would love it. So let's see. They have some people that can kind of match up a little bit with the Bucks, so it's possible. Sean Steo, thank you. Did Ty Lue blow this game by taking that timeout just prior to PG's missed free throws? Seemed like a really poor choice in the moment. Boy, I got to go look at that again and kind of study that. I mean, it didn't stand out to me at the time, but I was also like doing Twitter and doing all sorts of stuff. So that might have snuck by my radar. It's possible because they certainly could have used another timeout. Although, actually, did they? Because they got a timeout anyway when the review happened. But is the question then, did they ice Paul George by doing that, right? And made him think about it. That's possible, yeah. So that's an interesting call. I'm gonna have to look at it again, but yeah, that mean you never want to ice your own shooter, and that could have happened. But they're professionals. You got to assume that that's not going to be an issue. Thank you, D Pistons 149. Wow, very very generous. Thank you guys. What background music do you use for Michael Jordan's greatest shots? Bulls, Cavs, 1998 Game 5 breakdown. Jeez Louise. I tell you what, I might be able to figure that out. If you can tell me the name of the where, let me see if I can find it here. Let me go to tell me the name of the video exactly so I can kind of find it. Although if I type in Michael Jordan Cavs, Cavaliers, let me just see what happens real quick because this is a super chat. I'm going to go. That doesn't come out. I need the name of the video, and I can maybe figure it out real quickly if I listen to it. But is it? I don't know which one it is. Is it Michael versus Kobe comparing greatness? From May of 2020. How are you going to answer that without having to do that again? If you can answer really quickly in the comments, in the regular comments, I'll try and keep my eye out for that. But I'm assuming that perhaps what I didn't do is write it in the description. Oh no. Okay. Michael Jordan versus Kobe Bryant comparing greatness. The Last Dance. That one is my normal music. I can already hear it. It's Fighting for Freedom. So hopefully, oh no, that's not the one you're looking for. Damn. Sorry, I'm going through all sorts of stuff. I'm trying to see. Oh, I know why it's not showing all of them. Let me quickly look here. Where is there one? 5. Let's see. Is it Game 5? Yeah, this must be it. So if I hit play or watch on YouTube, what happens? Wow, that's an old one. Oh, wow. What music is this? I'm not sure I'm able to tell you. I don't know. I don't know what that music is. That's so old now. It's 7-8 years old. I don't think I'm able to find it. I'm sorry. Oliver Scanlon, thank you so much for the super chat. Oliver Scanlon, thank you. Couldn't we have offside or sideline officials do the video replay to make the review process way shorter? Could it avoid the free timeout scenario? I mean, I don't know. I don't think so because you gotta review the play before you can keep playing, right? Because that's going to affect the rest of the game. So you got to have that review process no matter who is looking at it. There is going to be a delay. Now maybe and they do have that. Yeah, I don't know. I would probably rather have the guys in the court going through the replay anyway. They saw it live. They had a good vantage point, and then they can reinforce what they saw with the video. So I don't think there's any other way to do it besides the way they've done it. And I don't know if it gets that much shorter. I think sometimes they need to put more pressure on themselves just to get to their answer. We see it. We can tell it's come on. And they might go an extra minute just to kind of be sure. And that might be the way they can kind of trim it. But it's tough. Let's see here. Nisan Nadu. Again, oh my God, thank you again for some more. Out of the 4 remaining teams, could you rank each of their coaches from worst to best and why? Always appreciate the content, coach. I got to put Monty at the top. I'm really impressed with what they run on offense. They had a beautiful Spain pick and roll set where they got great shots out of that. And like not twice in a row, but they ran it twice. And then they did a wrinkle where they showed Booker setting that back screen, which is like kind of like we saw at the very end on the ball screener's man in the Spain pick and roll. But then they don't actually set that screen. Booker comes off of the ball screen. I'm sorry, Ayton comes off the ball screen right away and then turns and sets a pin down for Bridges out of the corner. Paul George fell asleep and Bridges nails the 3 open. Really, really great offensive stuff. So I want to give Monty Williams props as the top guy there. Ty Lue probably second as far as the adjustments he's making. And he's really going down the well in the personnel department. Oh, and I'm just realizing I'm forgetting that people are waiting to come on the show. I still have a couple more of these. Let me get a couple more of the super chats. And then who's left? There is I would put Budenholzer in the very bottom, and then Hawks coach Nate as third, I guess. All right, let me bring Kevin in to talk real quick. Kevin, are you still there? I hope so. There's a button to press to come on in the show, and let's chop it up. We're waiting for Kevin to come on. Maybe while we wait for that, I'll quickly grab another. Oh, here he is. Kevin, what's up, my man?
I'm doing good, Coach. I'm doing good. I actually wanted to say one thing before I start. You're actually one of the first channels I watched when I first started playing basketball, and I've been watching you ever since. So
Wow.
I appreciate your content, and love what you're doing, man.
Thank you so much. That really makes that's. I love to hear that. I love to hear it, and I love to hear that. Hopefully, maybe you play a little bit better because of it.
Oh yeah, no, the way you go in depth into all the games is just amazing. Like no other person's doing it. So
cool. Thank you so much.
But I got two questions. So one, how would you think that if Kawhi Leonard does come back, how would you think that changes the series?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay, so Chris Paul comes back for them. Kawhi Leonard comes back. I don't think that's going to happen, right? It seems like he had a pretty bad knee injury, but if he does come back, wow. I mean, I don't know if it almost matters because they're going to be up. I mean, they could easily be up 3-0 at that point. But as far as the game itself, whatever game that is, if he does come back, I mean, it changes everything. Everybody gets moved down a peg in their roles. He gets all of a sudden you have a 25-point-a-game scorer who can throw a few dimes. You've got probably their best defender still. He was making serious plays when they needed it to. So, I mean, it does change everything. And if there's ever a moment where like a team was up 3-0 when he comes back for game 4, I mean, it's never happened before. But if Kawhi comes back healthy like that, yeah, I mean, who knows? That could change enough where they could maybe win 4 in a row. That'd be crazy. But I wouldn't put it past him.
Mm-hmm. I understand. And also, just like my last point, if Kawhi doesn't come back, what do you think Ty Lue could do? Like, what adjustments could he make to try win this series, try to get this series back?
This is razor thin, by the way. These two teams are very well matched, again, without CP3 out there. So, what is he going to have to do? Oh, my goodness gracious. I mean, I'm going to have to study that some of these the clips again because, it's like you lose a 1-point game like this and Morris going to go 3 for 11 again? Maybe not. Is Paul George going to miss those free throws? Probably not. So I don't know if there's a ton of things he needs to do. I'm not so sure he needed to even adjust and change the starting lineup like he did either so much. The question there is, Terrence Mann actually gave them a lot of a good lift, and he only got 19 minutes. So, Lou's main adjustments that he does are all personnel-based in my mind. It's not like he changes too much of what they do offensively. I would like to see them run more offense, though, and actually try and generate some easier shots. If they could do that. Now, that said, the Suns are awesome defenders. They're playing great defense. They're physical, taking away cuts. But I would like to see a little bit more on the offensive end, some clever things to get some easier shots for them. That might be the difference.
Well, I appreciate it, Coach. I hope you have a good night.
You got it. Thank you so much, Kevin. We got a couple more. Let's see. Real quickly, I'll take care of the one more. Super chat. Neeson, again, my goodness, thank you so much. That's very generous. Oh, no, actually, I caught up to that one, right? That's the last one? Okay, great. So thank you all, everybody in the super chat so far. If you have another question on the YouTube side, you want to do that, come on in. And if you want to talk to me like we just had these guys come in, Hot Mic app. It's in the description. Download the app. Come on in the show. We've got a bunch of people waiting now. So let's let me close this one out, and then let me bring in Jalen. So Jalen, are you there? What's up, my man?
Hey, Coach.
Good to hear from you.
I had a question about that the steel Patrick Beverley had on Devin Booker at the end of the game. What was the appeal for Devin Booker to go towards that corner area and go towards the extra defender? Because I saw KD do the same thing in the Game 7 Bucks game. I was kind of weirded out because why would you want to go towards kind of a double team type of situation?
Total mistake. They had a huge gap the other way. Everyone is kind of yelling on Twitter because I made a point of that too. Was that he always goes right, and and
it's a comfort type thing.
I think so, but I mean, I feel like I've seen Booker. He goes left, it doesn't.
You think it would be instinct when you see the other side of the floor to just go to that side because literally the whole space was just clear.
Right. It was a mistake. It was a mistake because he needed to go left, and he could elevate that way. And he actually, when you're going your left, you're more in line with the basket anyways, a righty. So it was weird, and it was also weird in that sense that they did overload that right side like that, because then there really was no space. But you can't really, I guess, argue with the shot, right? They got an open look in the corner. Bridges is an elite shooter now from the behind the line, especially in that corner. So he rushed it, but it was a little bit strange. And I think if he went through the tape, he'll realize that you want to get that double gap to the left. Every time when you see that.
Okay. My next question is about the Atlanta Bucks series.
Okay.
Do you think Atlanta has a chance? Because I know in a lot of your breakdowns you talk about the Bucks defense giving up wide open threes, and I know Atlanta, they have Trae Young, Bogdan, and Gallinari, and sometimes John Collins too can hit the three.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that matchup?
Let me. I'm checking right now. I want to look at the shooting. Oh, let me see if I do shooting. Is it general? Oh boy. Let me find the shooting real quick, because I want to see let's just look at normal. Hang on. Traditional 3-point percentage in the league. Let's see. For the regular season, I want to curious what the Hawks were. So the Clippers number 1, the Hawks were 12th in the league. So they weren't bad 3-point shooting. Again, I'm concerned every time the Bucks play anybody in the playoffs, because that's what they're going to do. They're going to give up a lot of open threes. And, at some point, in my mind, it comes back to bite you. And it kind of bit them in the regular season, but they've been able to survive somehow in the playoffs this way. So do the Bucks, but I don't think the Hawks have enough. If the Hawks were a top 5 3-point shooting team, then I probably would feel they really have a shot. But as a result, it's going to be, it's going to be crazy. And plus, they don't have DeAndre Hunter, which I think really hurts the Hawks. So I think all that just spells, probably a 5 game series, maybe 6. Okay.
That's all I ever had, Coach. Thanks for having me on.
You got it. Thanks. Okay, we got a lot of people now. Here's the thing. I know that Nelson is ahead of some of the other people, but he's now moved to the right. So I'm gonna have to remember here how this worked and maybe take a mental picture. So I'm gonna do this now. Let me just make sure there's anybody else with any. Okay, good. No super chats. All right, so let's keep the show going. I'm going to bring Nelson in for sure, because I know he's been waiting for a while. So come on in, Nelson, when you are ready, and we'll chop it up. I know that there was something else I saw. Oh, there you are, Nelson. What's happening, my man?
All right. Hello, Coach. By the way, I love your content.
Thank you so much.
Is it okay if I talk about something like basketball outside of the NBA?
Well, let's try it.
All right. So for my personal situation, so I'm a 5'9" guard. Going into my senior year in high school, I'm a great 3-point shooter, great mid-range shooter, above average handles, not the best handles. I'm not the best leaper, not the fastest, and I'm kind of a short wingspan and not the greatest finisher. So I say I'm kind of a Luke Kennard type player.
Okay.
So my question would be, what are 3 tips you could give me, and then what are some players I can study to make me impact my team?
Okay. So how is your shooting off the dribble? Can you do that?
Yeah, definitely. I practiced it.
Okay.
Crossover.
Okay. Because that's going to be a chance for you to be able to catch. Here's the thing. In high school, we're now seeing guys shooting threes off the dribble, and so that's probably going to be the kind of thing that you can get a lot of mileage out of. But you're going to have to make them, right. The coach is going to have a short leash on those if you can't hit them consistently, and so that's going to be a thing where. Does your coach have the kind of confidence in you? Did you play last year?
It was COVID, so not a lot.
Okay. And the year before, probably not for the varsity or whatever?
Yeah, just for my high school team.
Okay. So this is so the coach hasn't ever seen you in games shooting threes a lot. Is that the idea?
No, he's seen me shoot a lot of catch and shoots. Not a lot off the dribble.
All right. Well, then you're going to have to. I mean, off the dribble, I think it's going to be a separator for a good high school player. Just because I feel like you're going to wait around for catch and shoots for a long time in a lot of high school offenses. You might get a couple, and whereas you can generate them off of pick and rolls or even just coming off the court. That's I think the biggest key then was you're going to have to be able to get your coach on board with that and know that it's a viable shot for you and not bother you. So. the tip I would almost say is like figure out ways where you can be, making sure he's noticing that like in the practices, and that's when you're going to take him and make him, and then develop that trust in him so that you can get those shots in the games, and you're not going to, get taken out for him. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I'll definitely practice the handling and the shooting, creating shots.
Yeah, and I will throw this out there. When you shoot from distance, like and by the way, 19'9" is a 3-pointer in high school, but you go back a foot or so, then you get a little bit more time and more space. So that's the other thing you want to work on is give yourself some space, on the catch and shoots from behind the line a little bit farther, and you can always dip off the handle. That's another big thing that people don't notice that the NBA players do really well. So think about that. It's hard to show you here this way, but think about letting the ball like sort of a float dribble where the ball comes up a little bit in your hand. It's like spinning in your hand. At that point, you can then, as you're gathering it, bring it down into a dip and shoot it. That's a real secret that will help you shoot distance off the dribble.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And what would be some players that I could study?
CJ McCollum.
CJ McCollum?
Yeah, I would study him. He's great at all that, and that he's especially because he can add extra steps where the ball is floating and doing a lot of gallop steps and skip dribbles. He is fantastic. I think CJ is a really great guy to emulate.
For sure. I don't want to take too much time, but is there time for like one more question?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So, what do you think? Do you think in the NBA, ISO ball is the most important skill in the playoffs in the half court?
In the half court, ISO ball, most important skill. I would probably still say, if you're a ball handling guard, I would probably say the pick and roll and being able to run that properly. And by the way, the subset of that is like the skip pass to the corner. That is a great skill that, is, I don't want to say it's new. People have been doing that, but like you see more and more players ever going to make that pass, and that generates a lot of great shots. So I would still say in the half court, in the NBA at least, ISO is important. You're going to get 4 of those, 3 of those if you're a top player, 5 of those maybe, but you're going to get double that on the pick and roll, right? And running pick and rolls, and so that's when you need to. That's probably what I would say that skill is more important.
But wouldn't you say hitting the short roll will be better because the weak side man would just be tagging the roller and then he's able to recover?
So the pocket pass to the roll man, is that what you're saying? Or you're saying the short roll after you get double teamed?
Well, yeah, the pocket pass, short roll. I mean, they're similar, right?
They are. I'm much more impressed with a 40-foot pass off with one hand, between defenders, or over defenders that somehow lands right in the guy's hands. That to me is a more impressive pass than the pocket pass, or even the short roll if I'm getting doubled or whatever and I got to get it around the guy. I think that skip pass is more skilled.
All right, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks.
That's all my question.
Okay, you got it. Thanks. All right. You know what? I'm going to try. I'll go left or right again. They told me that it was in order, but I know that I don't think it is. But let's just do this because I can't think of anybody else who comes in next. But I'll get to everybody. So just be a little patient and we'll do it. Adam, let's bring Adam in and see what he has to talk about here. But I love this. If you're on YouTube, get over to the Hot Mic app, the link in the description, and come on the show. Adam, what's happening, my man?
Coach Nick, how are you doing tonight?
I am good. I mean, that game was crazy, right?
Yeah, sorry. I was just taking a sip of water. Yeah, it was a really good game. I enjoyed watching it. I just wanted to see if you had any thoughts on giving the ball to Mikal Bridges for 3 at the end there.
Well, we just mentioned the fact that they had an unbalanced floor with two players to the right, and then Booker goes to the right. If you look at Booker's splits, I remember not Booker, Bridges splits from the corner in the 3. I'm pretty sure he shoots really well from there. So as a result, as a not a process but a result based analysis, that's what you want. That's a great shot for the win right there. I just think that Booker made the mistake. He should have gone the other way to his left where there was more space. If I'm Monty Williams, I would sleep well. If let's say they lost the game and that was the shot, I would probably sleep well knowing that, it worked out, to some degree, and knowing that they get in the film room and be like, hey, Book, you got to go the other way.
Yeah, I agree. And last thing I really have to add is, I think the Hawks-Bucks series will be a good series. I wish the Hawks, weren't as injured. I think Bogdan I think his knee is kind of collapsing
Oh,
on
that
him.
too. Yeah.
And then DeAndre Hunter being, having to get surgery. I think if they had those two guys healthy, Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday would, not be able to play too well on the offensive end. So
well,
might
don't
be
forget,
competitive, but we'll see.
well, Cam Reddish too could help them, and if he was healthy. So, they really are beat up. Certainly a lot more than the Bucks are. And you're right. I mean, listen, it'll go. It should go like 6 games, right? Like, I don't want to poo-poo it. And I'm actually, I got to tell you, I'm a Hawks fan now. I am. They're the underdog. They've been the underdog in the last round, and I always gravitate towards that. So I am rooting for them. I'm going to say it right here, and we'll see. But it seems like this might be the end of the Cinderella story. But you never know.
Yeah, we will see. But I agree that Trey and the rest of the Hawks have definitely switched my opinion through these playoffs.
For sure. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
All
Have
right.
a nice night.
You too. We have another super chat. Thank you so much, Raul DM. Zone defense now or too soon for the Clips? I would probably try a little zone. They got to mix up something here, and that might help with the Booker mid-range stuff. And then who knows? He might space the floor and start hitting threes again. But they need to do something to mix that up. And by the way, they have to stop Payne. He's getting in the lane. The threes would probably let him have it anyway, but they got to stop him from getting so easy to the bed with all the little floaters and the finger rolls. That might help. So yeah, good call, Raul, on the zone call. I don't think I even saw it tonight at all. And they're gonna have to break it out without question. Okay, we got a few more people waiting to come on in. And again, if you're over on the YouTube side and you want to chop it up with me, download the Hot Mic app and request to come in, and we'll chop it up. Let's see here. We're waiting for Nixon. There he is. What's up?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you, my man.
Oh, first off, I want to start by saying I'm a huge fan. I've been watching you for since I was in middle school, I would say.
Oh, don't make me feel too old, please. But thank you. Well, let's see. If you're in middle school now, how old are you now?
So I have. Well,
oh wow, yeah, isn't that amazing? Like I can't. I mean, yeah. Someone asked me how long I've been doing this. It's been 11 years, and I still can't. I can't believe it.
That's
but anyway, well, thank you for being in the conversation for so long.
Yeah. Oh, my first question is, I'm still in awe of what happened because I wasn't really watching the game, but I was listening to the game.
Okay.
And I saw Paul George at the free throw line. I'm just looking at the way he missed. Do you think it was like a variation in his mechanics? That's why he missed, or that was just like his confidence? Would you say?
Oh wow. Okay. Well, weren't they both short?
The first one, it rimmed in and out.
Okay. I gotta look again. You know what? That's a great question. That's a really good detail that I have to look at for the video.
So the first one hit the not the front of the rim, but like the front of the inside of the rim, and it hit the back of the rim. The second one just hit back rim. Yeah.
I mean, generally, yeah. If you're going to miss, there's going to be a little alteration of something in there. Got my memory of it now. Kind of picturing in my head was it wasn't as smooth. I mean, it was a choke, right? I mean, I hate to say it, but that was what happens, right? The pressure of the moment. The fingers come off the ball differently. The elbow doesn't quite get under the way you need it to. The alignment
factor.
Yeah, there's a lot of that really. I mean, listen, the mental aspect is a real. It's real, even though it's not tangible. You can't hold it in your hand. By the way, that's what I tell my players. Pressure doesn't really exist, right? It only exists insofar as you want to create it. But it's not. It's not like a thing you can hold in your hand. It's not something that's going to hit you and hurt you, right? It's only in the sense that it only affects you as much as you choose to let it affect you. So that was what happened, man. And I'm sure we all know that feeling, right? In any sport we might play, where all of a sudden the muscle slack happens and your muscles aren't as engaged as they're supposed to be, and then your arm moves funny, and it could just be a half of an inch, and that's all it takes. And so that's what happens.
Do you have the clip of the available? That sequence.
Yeah, well, let me see. I mean, I wonder if I can jump back. I have it. I mean, it's just up here. I'm kind of scrolling through the post game, and I wonder if I can go back far enough. But yeah, so what's your question?
So I'm looking back because I'm a little dumbfounded how Zubac was able to allow DeAndre to get that ball, but I'm looking back at it, and I don't know. Was that a legal screen that was set
by Booker?
Devin Booker? Yeah.
You know, by the way, here's speaking of which, as I'm scrolling back, I see the Paul George free throw. Let me look.
Yeah.
Yeah, he short armed it. So when you watch him shoot it, I think you can see me. He goes like this. He goes
No.
a little bit of that, right? That was on the one of them. And that's nerves, right? That, it shouldn't have been on the second one. Does he do the same thing? Let's see here. Yeah.
Is it follow through typically like that?
No, I don't think it is, and it shouldn't be if it is. I don't think it is, but he kind of pulled it back, and that's nerves. All right, now as far as that screen by Booker, yes, it was a pretty solid screen. Here it is. Let me watch it real quick. It was a pretty solid screen. I don't think, because what constitutes did he get his arms up a little bit? Yeah. Was he not quite square to Zubats? Yeah. But, I mean, that's just never going to get called. I mean, is Batum holding Booker like before that too, and sort of that could be a foul. Yeah, I don't. And by the way, it really didn't impede him that much. You know what I mean? If you look at it, Zubats got around.
But in situations like that, it comes down to like So had he not been impeded by that, he probably would have been able to get maybe a finger on it.
Yeah,
been a deciding factor.
Yeah, that's a really tough. I'm gonna have to look at that one. I'll probably bring Ronnie in. We're gonna talk about the goaltend, or not the non-goaltend lob over the rim, and we'll talk about that because that's a good point. I mean, it's. I think Ronnie would probably say it didn't rise to the level of calling a foul. It needed to be more provocative than that, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's, and I don't think anybody in the Clippers is going to complain about it too much, but it's interesting. It is interesting what he did there and whether or not that's like a legal screen. So yeah, I hear you.
Okay. Oh, my final question is, so before the series started, I'm looking at the Clippers roster from, even in the front office, and because they have Kenny Atkinson as a assistant coach. They have Chauncey Billups as, I don't know if he's assistant coach, but I know he's on the coaching staff.
Yeah.
And I'm just on my question to you, because I've been trying to ask you on the YouTube comment section for a while now. Do you notice like his influence on the offense, like the people on the assistant coaching staff? Do you notice like their little imprints in the offense and like just maybe the defensive sets or anything?
That's a great question. I don't have my finger on the pulse of the Clippers bench. Sometimes on certain teams, I know, some of the coaches, and I know what's going on. This is, by the way, I didn't even realize that Chauncey Billups was an assistant coach this year until like midway through. I was like, I don't know, he snuck in there. I didn't see the announcement. I would imagine that Kenny Atkinson does have some effect on the offense. But then again, like when you watch the Clippers play offense, it doesn't look like what the Nets ran when he was there. Really, there's not a lot. The movement isn't as much there as they had, certainly not in the playoffs as much. And certainly when Kawhi goes down, that changes a lot of things. So So I don't know. I mean, listen, Ty Lue's going to come in there. He's got he's won a ring. He's been a coach already before. I would suspect that he's got his way of doing things, and he wants to run them that way. All righty.
All right. It was nice talking to you.
Thank you so much. Talk to you soon. We have a couple more super chats. Thank you guys so much. Sean Steo, is Drew Holiday the best defender for Trae Young? Yeah, I think so, for sure. That's going to be a really great matchup. But I think Drew Holiday is really great. He's like a bulldog in there. He's going to make life really miserable for Trae in a similar way that Ben Simmons did. Ben Simmons made it really tough for him as well. So. I just want beautiful. Good to see you. But what do you want me to say? Oh, Pandemic P. You got it. It's always nice to see you out there on the comments, on every comment. So thanks for being part of the conversation over there on the comments. Now let's go to Oscar Carapia. And we have a couple more people who want to come on the show, so I'll get to that in a minute. But let's see here. Oscar asks, and thank you so much, Oscar. Very generous. Do you think the mid-range jumper is making a comeback? We saw PG and Booker actively looking for those shots and making them. Yes, I mean, maybe it never went away. And I'm going to do a video highlighting all of the key fourth quarter, last couple minute shots that we saw all playoff long this year. They were all mid-range. There's got to be a ton of them. It's got to be 20 of them in the whatever games. So absolutely, they need them. The three-point shot gets taken away, and you're chasing a lot, and that's what you're going to have left. You better be. you better be ready for those. You know what I mean? And better be have the experience to make those in a high pressure situation. That's what you're going to get, and it's good to see. Raul, oh my goodness, thank you again. Post up on Booker to tire him out. Did they post up on Booker to tire him out? So you want to see the the Clippers post up whoever Booker's guarding? Interesting. The only problem with that is that it most likely will be way out of their offense. Whoever Booker is going to be guarding probably doesn't ever really post up that much at all. And now you're going to throw that out there on them and try and make that work. Yeah, I would think that Booker should be posting up, though. I know I've seen him do that in the past. So I'd like to see him do that to get going a little bit. And then Javier Dudley, thank you so much. They didn't review who the ball went off after Bridges missed. They stood at the monitor with nothing on it for 5 minutes after the Bridges missed. Well, that was because it was the Clippers ball, right? After Bridges missed. I know that Ayton was there on the weak side to almost get the rebound, and then it went off on right. The Clippers got the ball back on that one, right? If we go back, I got to look again. So yeah, they didn't need to review that one as far as I could tell, right? If I must have been going crazy. All right, let's bring in. We have a couple more people who want to come on. Okay, change the order on me again. I'm going to do Alex. I feel like Alex has been waiting for a while, and I'm sorry if you guys waited a while, but hey, I'll get to everybody. So Alex, are you there? This is like the Worldwide Wobbs shows, right? You guys must be waiting for a long time on his shows. So I hope I can make that wait shorter for you. Alex, what's up, my man?
All right, Coach Nick.
What?
Yeah, I just got done watching the game.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a Clips fan, so it's just a little bit hard to watch. But nonetheless, I like just to watch because when people win, they win fair and square. So it's just a learning experience.
Mm-hmm. And it was a great game. It was exciting and epic and all those stuff. It's someone had to win.
Yep, it was, and it did make for good TV. So that's the bright side. But I don't know. Just trying to do a lot more thinking on just more defensive strategies. I understand that this is what a lot of teams are trying to implement, or at least try to stop this mid-range thing with Chris Paul and Devin Booker. And then Devin Booker with post-ups is just a different animal. And then on top of it, the last minute isolations and shooting over Patrick Beverly, all of it's just hard. And then DeAndre Ayton post-ups is a monster. But
yeah,
in terms of just specifically the pick and roll, I've seen some success where when they go over and they really, really when Zubac steps up, and I understand they're trying oh, okay, he steps up, maybe I can get him with a fake or something, throw him off balance and go straight to the cup. At least with Cameron Payne, that probably shouldn't be that much of an issue because I've seen some instances where Cameron Payne just goes one way and he gets blocked.
Yep.
Or at least some type of guard. Devin Booker, that starts to become a problem, and even with Chris Paul. But at least the show, come back, and don't sell out for the jump shot, because I've seen Paul George do that stuff before, and that led in Cameron Payne doing a hook layup.
Mm-hmm.
But if there is a chance where you can ice the pick and roll and maybe Zubac steps up a little bit more, then that kind of decreases the space. So when you start forcing him towards the weak side or to the help defender, now it's a little bit easier to force it because he has less space to go forward. He has less space to go or push and try to do something in jail. He's just stuck. And then the only thing you really have to worry about in the pick and roll, ideally, is just a high pick and rolls and on top, and still trying to survive with Chris Paul back and trying to put Zubac through the torture chamber.
Right. Yeah. By the way, without question, icing it, I think, is the way to go. And you could kind of do that on the very top as well, and just really force him one way and have the guy drop. And that, you're right, that is the key. It's the guy dropping who has so much work to do, because if he gets too far up, then the roll man gets behind him and then it's a lob, and Ayton won't miss any of those shots, right? So he's got his job cut out for him. He's got to try and stay even with the roll man and still, like, try and thwart a floater or a pull-up jump shot. And then the guy obviously chasing around has to get glued. It's okay if he's in jail. In fact, that I'm actually trying to invent a new defense, and the conceit might end up being it's a pick and roll defense. I'm trying to make it a defense for the entire possession for everything, but it might just be a pick and roll defense. And part of the thing is that we get behind the ball handler to begin with, and you see this all the time when the guy chases around. Now he's behind the ball handler and they're trying to contain. So that whole setup is really important. That puts a lot of pressure on that guy, who's guarding the ball screener. And I think Zubac did fine on that, right? I mean, the only thing you look at is that, Ayton was 12 for 15, had 24 points, was just dominant around the basket. And they weren't all just like, little roll passes for layups. He had some hooks. He had a jump shot. They need to figure out a way to stop that if they want to have hope to get back in the series.
Yeah, I mentioned that because on the other side, when the Clippers are trying to run their offense and some pick and rolls with Zubac, I've seen the Suns kind of implement that same thing, and Aiden will show up and he has a good feel of the rollman. So when he sees it from his peripheral, he just drops.
Yeah.
And by that time, he's the top man has already recovered.
Right.
So I've seen them execute it pretty well. But then I've also seen some instances where Paul George is Paul George, so he just does what he does.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in the pick and roll sometimes, but I think that's a good strategy, at least for now, because you just don't really have it. You don't have the luxury of having a center that's not going to get faked out. You just don't have it on your team right now, so you have to work with what you have, and I think that's the best option
for sure.
But on the offensive end, and to some people's point about the bench and Kenny Atkinson and Chauncey Billups, I know that Kenny Atkinson is more so on the player development side.
Yeah.
And the player development coach worked with Kenny Atkinson in Brooklyn. So I know that that's something that he's kind of keying in on, but I know he has more effects on defense. And there's another coach that's actually focused on defense, but I know he has some type of say so.
Okay.
But
cool.
On the offensive end, I want to see a little bit of, there was something. I want to see a little bit more of DeMarcus Cousins. The matchup with Saric and DeMarcus Cousins, when I saw that, I was licking my chops. I was like, yep, this is what I want. This is what I want. So when they start trying to play small ball, which I doubt they will do, but if they for some reason try it, it's done. And I honestly want to see a world where maybe DeMarcus Cousins starts getting back to his old form and maybe starts taking Aiden to town. Because then if we're gonna like get beat in the pick and roll and this and that, at least we have DeMarcus Cousins to say, all right, I'll step up and I'll force Aiden to like y'all you're gonna have to double me on at least every possession, and that's what I want to see a little bit more of.
Absolutely, that sounds great. Well, we'll see what happens. I know that DeMarcus Cousins had some trouble and some fouls and just couldn't get a rhythm going, but he might help. I think at some point in this series he's going to have an impact on the game. So for sure.
Thank you for having me. And
you got it. Thank you so much. All right, let's. We have some super chats all of a sudden that came in. So hang on, guys. I'm going to get to you guys who want to come on the show in a minute, but let's go through some super chats again. Thank you, guys. This is so generous so far. Andrew Zhu, do healthy Lakers beat the Suns? Yes. And that's the irony, is the Suns probably should have lost to the Lakers if AD doesn't go down, and now that happened, they're going to win the whole thing. Like that's how the NBA can be in this weird, strange postseason. But I, in my professional opinion, the Lakers were going to beat them. Now CP3 had gotten hurt and he was getting back, but I still think that AD and LeBron healthy or whatever LeBron was too was enough. They had control to go up, look like 3-1 until that halftime of that game 4. So great question. D Chang, thank you. After all the inbound game winner lops I've seen in the NBA over the years, lobs maybe, there should be no defender on the inbounder when under one. Changed my mind. Well, I mean, I don't know. Isn't the idea that the guy's all over the inbounder, then they can't make that lob so easy? But it certainly didn't matter with the way Cousins was guarding it. So interesting. Like, yeah, do you put him like sort of under the basket and kind of like they be a wall, like a soccer? I don't know. I mean, I'm open to that. I know I've tried that in lost games before, having a big guy waving his arms and whatever. And they still just throw down and the guy scores. So yeah, it's worth a shot. I wouldn't, poo-poo it completely. So Dave Wu, thank you so much from NT. I wonder what NT is. Where's North? Somewhere. What's someone tell me what NT is. Despite the win, I felt that the Suns made some mistakes down the stretch. They made up for it by the Booker jumper and Ayton lob. But I imagine CP3 is going to fix a lot of it when CP3 comes back. How does his presence help that? Yes. Well, CP3 just irons out everything for everything, right? Because he's such a big talker on defense, makes sure people understand what the plays are, calls them out ahead of time, gets people into positions before the play even unfolds. Offensively, he's able to get guys there. I mean, there were moments when Payne was running it, and he did okay, but CP3 is 10 times better than that. So his effect is going to be so profound that I can imagine if he comes back and he's got his rhythm going without being rusty, I think that they win by 10, 12, 13 points, even in Staples. So I think that's going to be how profound CP3 is going to be. I mean, I guess I could be wrong, but it just feels like the way CP3 is playing, it's a huge advantage for the Suns. Red Gangsta 27, thank you so much. Oh, and NT is Taiwan, so thank you so much for the Taiwanese currency. Wow. Red Gangsta 27, why haven't teams in this playoffs employed the strategy of getting the opposing team star player to foul out by constantly attacking him on offense? I wish I had the answer to that one. They don't. They should. That should be a focus. Even if they don't foul him out, they can wear him out a little bit, knowing that he's going to play, a whole bunch of minutes anyway. So Red Gangsta, I have no idea why they don't do that more. It's crazy. Like I don't see why they're not isolating Booker a lot more. And maybe even just trying to force a switch so he's got to guard Paul George. That might have happened a little bit, but I don't think enough. So great call on that one. They need to do that more. Raul DM, thank you. Tips, tricks for setting good screen. Well, one of the tricks you can try and do, like the Warriors did so well, was they would when they set the ball screen and they're set for a minute and they're not moving, but then after that they kind of turn to face the basket and then they back up and put their hands up. Like, I'm not doing anything, but what they're doing is erasing the guy who they're screening. So they get the contact, and then as they turn, the guy's kind of on his back now, and they're kind of just backing up. Like, I don't know what's happening, but they're just removing that player completely out of the play. And you can get away with that probably at every level. So that's one way to do that, to keep those guys off. Hands up, I'm not doing anything, but you just keep backing up, and then maybe take the guy with you. Sean Seo, thank you so much for the super chat. Just, I guess, thank you so much for the tip. All right, we have some more people to come in here and come on the show. So let's close this out and let's bring in David. We got David, Daniel, and Gordon. I think I'm going to wrap it up after that because we're getting in a little bit long in the tooth here. It's already 1 a.m. in the East Coast. So, David, where are you? And again, I as we do these, I'm going to always use the hot mic app so that we can bring on guests. I'd love to hear from you guys. It's certainly a lot better than me droning on for an hour straight with nobody else contributing. So, David, I hope you didn't wait too long and it disappeared on me. Maybe I'll bring Daniel in while we're waiting for David, because I know Daniel – actually, it's probably in the middle of the day for Daniel. Let's do this. And, Daniel, hit that button. Come on in. Let's chop it up. Friend of the breakdown. Oh, he just moved into the list, but let's see here. Daniel, where'd you go? All right, we got one more. We got Gordon who's waiting. Oh, here comes Daniel. What's up, my man?
Hey, how you going?
I'm good. A crazy game, mate. It's really exciting.
Yeah, I had my friend over who's he's not too much into basketball, but he goes for Phoenix.
Okay.
And he's just like a bandwagon Phoenix fan. And he rocked up and he's like, "Oh my gosh, how long is this taking?" Because he doesn't quite get the game. And it was just hilarious to watch a new fan watch Paul George brick 2 free throws, as I all know too well, and all that stuff, Yeah,
that was rough. What was the score at that point when he did that?
I think they were down. I think they were up 1 when he. Yeah, they were up 1 when he missed two free throws.
Yeah, that
Was it
hurts.
101 to 100?
Yeah, I think so. That sounds right to me. I'm trying to look, but I think the one replay I had that I'm still paused on was that you don't see the score. But anyway, yeah. Oh, here it is. The score was 103-102 with 2 free throws, and he missed them both. So that's brutal. That's really rough.
I've never seen him miss 2 free throws in a row like that. He just looked like a lack of confidence, or like he pulled back on his arm, like you saw that little pull back instead of holding that follow through.
Yeah.
On my free throw, I actually adopt a little bit of his routine where he takes his deep breath and then he does his routine, and then after it he kind of like bobs down a bit, and it gets the rhythm from all the way from his feet to his base of his shot. But he pulled back his follow through. I don't know why. Yeah, that's definitely just him not being clutch in that situation, in my opinion.
Interestingly enough, when you pull back, you assume that it's short every time, but that last one was long. So it was just the whole energy transfer was thrown off, and the release too. It's possible that like pulling it back changed the trajectory so that what would have been a little bit higher and then dropped straight down ends up being a lower trajectory and then long.
Yeah. So I got 2 main questions.
Okay.
Number 1. All the talk in Australia at the moment is Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons. It's on everything at the moment. My opinion is that he needs to get dealt to a team that will play him at the 5. Get him some touches at the elbow, run some cutters off of him, and he can go to work 2-3 dribbles away from the basket. Do you think a team that trades for Simmons needs to view him as a 4-5 big man, or do you think in some realm that he can be a point guard?
It's funny because it works okay for a lot of the game, but then when it comes down to like the fourth quarter where you see like he takes like, one shot every fourth quarter, whatever it is, he just goes and wanders down to the dunker spot in the weak side. And it's like at that point, the coach needs to stop that from happening somehow, call some plays that will force me to the low post for the ball or handle the ball. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like he's a very viable player, and what he was saying in those interviews is right. Like, he gets a lot of assists. He plays awesome defense. So what's the big deal? Like, why do I have to be the guy who shoots it like that? And I think we understand now why it becomes a liability, especially when he didn't shoot the one under the basket, man.
I could not believe he had a drop step, and he just went up, and then it must have been the fear of getting hacked.
Yeah.
Because it was Trae Young. That's a poster and one on Trae Young.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So
he just passed up to Thibault.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, the solution for him is he needs to be able to have a jumper. He needs to be able to be willing to take the jumper. And, there's an edit they showed when he was playing as a rookie in Summer League where he's hitting jumpers all over the place. So it's like
it came down to Australia, and it was there's a place, I don't know if it's in America, it's called Culture Kings, and it's like the thing that we just have to copy like American culture and whatnot. And there's this ring that they have there, and Simmons was like doing shootouts, and he was beating anyone that came up to the plate to come like in a shootout. I ended up versing him in a shootout. I ended up losing.
Wow.
I'm not the greatest shooter, but I feel like I'm decent. But he was shooting with confidence, and you just look at him now, and he's got zero confidence at all. He's not worrying about anything, and it's like. He doesn't need to be able to shoot a 3 because there are great players that don't shoot 3-point shots. And if you just play him, I think playing him, if I was the coach, I'd play him at the 5-4-5, running him around the high post. And if you can get an 18-foot jumper from there, you're 2-3 dribbles away from being a threat to go score, and then you can just pull up and rise up because you're 6'10". I just don't understand. I don't understand.
Yeah. I mean, so it's almost a little bit like, could he do the Jokic role? Because I don't mind him bringing the ball up. I like that he does that. He should have the ball. He can create. He can pass very well. And so I guess they need a coach who's going to be able to lay it out and make it clear to him how to avoid those issues better. And it might be Ben resistant to that kind of thing. They might be doing it like, hey, stop going to the dunker spot in the weak side in the fourth quarter, and yet he does it anyway, right? Like that. I mean, I can't believe that Doc wouldn't have addressed that at some point throughout the whole season. So, and if that's the case, then like, who do we point to when it's not working, the coach or the player? But the bottom. And by the way, I'm a little bit frightened that Doc says he has the fix for him, and he's convinced that improving his free throw shooting will instantly affect his jump shooting. Those are two separate skills in a closed
They're
group.
two separate things.
Yeah.
I've got,
Yeah, and by the way, Doc Rivers, I hate to be that guy who's like, well, Doc Rivers wasn't a good shooter. What does he know about shooting? But it's true. He was not a good shooter as a player, and I don't think he's ever gotten into the minutia of like what shooting really is and how to teach it. So I wouldn't anticipate what their plans for him, would work very well this summer. So hopefully he'll find somebody else. Ben Simmons will to help him.
Yeah, I think he just needs to find a new situation. And second of all, did you pay attention to the draft lottery today at all?
Only that I think Detroit got the first pick. I was, that's all I saw.
Yeah, and I was actually the real question with like surrounding that is, do you think that have you watched much college basketball, and do you think that there is a solid number one, that it's pretty clear who the best player in the class is, or do you think it's a more in-depth class with players that could really make an impact for different franchises?
Well, I think both of those things are true because I think there's a lot of players that can, but it does feel like the Cade Cunningham, and I've seen a little bit of him, is going to be the consensus number one, which is weird because the Pistons already have Killian Hayes. So that's going to be an interesting thing, but they could probably both play alongside each other because Cade Cunningham has size, so does Killian Hayes. So I kind of like that. That might work, in a way. So, but yeah, everyone seems to think that Cade Cunningham is going to be the number one guy, and that would probably be pretty interesting for me.
Yeah. Do you think Evan Mobley and Christian would work together in Houston if they draft Evan Mobley second?
All right, Mobley's from USC, right?
Yeah.
I haven't watched a ton of him, but that might work. I mean, listen, Christian Wood can get out on the perimeter and be a perimeter player as well. A little bit, and spotting up and stuff. So yeah, because as far as I can tell, they say Evan Mobley can shoot it, but there's not a lot of evidence of that, right?
It's like an Ayton situation where he's got good textbook form. He should be able to shoot in the future, but he probably won't come in as a shooter. At least that's what I think. I think Ayton could start shooting jumpers next year. He's got really good form, and I think it's the same thing with Mobley. It's it'll take him a couple of years, but then he should be able to shoot some jumpers.
Yeah. So and there's no pressure on them pretty much for next year to win anything. So that could be a good situation for him to kind of experiment with that and find out. But yeah, that could work for me. I mean, hey, having two bigs at the same time to get offensive rebounds and cause some havoc that way, I think is not it doesn't have to go away. Everyone's going smaller and smaller. I feel like someone's going to figure that out and unlock that, especially if you have a guy who could shoot threes at a size. So. Who knows? I mean, listen, the Mavericks just did it, right, when they had KP and Boban.
And if they can go perimeter and if you got guys that are 6'11", but they can play perimeter, that's fine. As long as they play that have that ability. If you got two guys that can't move, if you're playing Kanter and Adams together in today's NBA, you're probably going to suck. But Enes Kanter and Adams worked in 14, 16, whenever that was. I can't remember.
Yeah, they roughed up the Spurs, I believe, right?
Yeah, that was my favorite series.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for having me on.
You got it.
Have a good night.
All right, talk to you soon, Daniel. All right, let's get a couple more people out here. Kian, let's bring him in there. And we got Gordon. I think that we're going to call it a night after that. But let's see. Kian, are you there? Waiting for the guest to hit the button and come on. Hey, what's up, my man? Did I say your name right?
How'd you say? I'm sorry.
Did I pronounce your name? Is it Kian?
Yeah, you said it correctly.
Awesome. What's happening, my man?
Hey, man, I've been watching you coach for a long time, almost 10 years. So I appreciate it since maybe high school.
Oh, wow. Thank you. That's a long time.
Yeah, but I'll get right to it. I know it's late. Quick question. We're talking about the stars, but I noticed the leading scorer was actually Cameron Payne, and the way they let him just go left every single time without help. What did you think about that?
Cameron Payne is shifty. He's really fast. I don't know if people really recognize how fast the dude is. So, and lefties are always like that. They always go left anyway, right? Harden, he's going left. He gets left anyway. Odom did it, back in the day. It's something about lefties, and you're not used to it. But I mean, talk about the power of belief. You know what I'm saying? It's like this guy believes, he's got the glow. He's like the last dragon. I mean, it's like, and you can feel it through the TV, and it's really great to see when a guy goes, had to play in China, and it was like just about in the G League, whatever he was, and it wasn't going to make the NBA at all. It would be a viable player. This guy is a legit player in the conference finals doing work. I really can't get over how amazing that is, and You know what I mean? The Clippers are going to have to really kind of figure this out and figure out who they're going to match up with. Because I got to go through it. I'm kind of curious to see who was guarding him on most of those plays. Paul George.
I was watching it, and they would have a pick, and actually Paul George would be on him, and he would give him space for the three, but he would just go straight to his left, and he would just blow by Paul George, and the help would never come. So I was wondering, did they not prepare for him going left, or
Yeah, that's possible. I mean, I'm sure they got the scouting report. Say he's a lefty, it's going to go. I mean, they knew that. But yeah, he varied the starting points. He didn't always attack from the same spots. It was not easy to kind of pick that up. I got to check out what was going on in the weak side, why the rotations weren't there. Sometimes if it's Paul George, they might say, well, he can handle him. We don't have to help,
Right.
And it's shocking that he was still doing that. Ultimately, it kind of didn't work so well because he got the shot blocked, and then they came down and scored, and you thought, okay, that's it. The Clippers won the game. They were able to hold on just enough. Because remember, without Kawhi Leonard, these games are going to be very, very close. Like the Clippers aren't blowing anybody out. They're gonna, if they win, it's going to be by a point or two.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right. And the one time he did get blocked is because he went left, but they forced him back right. So
right, and they tried to do the inside the hand layup, which was
he tried to slip it under, and he couldn't get it under there because he's so used to hitting the floater left. And
he needed a right-handed kind of hook, but that would have been all sorts of hard because you're going across your body on that.
Right.
But, So it was like you can kind of see like the bend but don't break. They gave him, and then the very end when they needed it, they got the stop they needed, but then they couldn't then stop that lob.
He got 29. So, but my second quick question: what did you think about Van Gundy talked about this a lot? Just the mass amount of replays they had at the end. You think that's screwed up the momentum for?
Oh, probably not. I mean, I think it gave an advantage to the Clippers at one point because they didn't have a timeout and they got a really long timeout to just sort of to scheme. The rule is the rule. So the only way you're getting around that is to eliminate the replay. I don't know if they're going to be able to trim off any extra time to make it that a little bit faster. Because remember, the momentum is broken as soon as you take 30 seconds for a replay, right? And nothing's lasting. It won't go any faster than that. So once you get that point, is there a difference between 30 seconds and 60 seconds or 90 seconds? Like probably not. And then at that point, as far as momentum, whatever that elusive momentum is, the real thing for me is, our team's going to end up benefiting because they lost all their timeouts and then they end up getting freebies like that to draw up plays. That's probably the real issue I would have with it. But it's nice to have the replay, but then again, they overturned the Booker call that went off his fingernail or whatever the finger. That's a tough one too, where maybe they shouldn't have that call. And I don't know what to make of it. For me, it's like I don't get that antsy, so I'm willing to wait to get the damn call right on the replay versus like, come on, man, the game is waiting. I'm not in that camp, but we're getting to the point now where some of these replays are creating situations I don't think a lot of the fans like.
Yeah, like Van Gundy said, he made a good point. That very last the game-winning play, they gave him so much time. They basically got a free timeout to drop that play for the screen for Aiden for the putback.
Right. And now, because were they out of timeouts at that point? Because I know they had one toward the end, but was that?
Yeah, because what's his name missed the three, and then I guess they were trying to review who tipped it out before it went to .9, and they got the ball. The Suns got the ball back, and then they reviewed that again, so they got another timeout.
Right, that was there was no time. Yeah. I mean, listen, so it benefited both. The Clippers got the same deal after another review too, where they didn't have a timeout. So it balanced out, and I don't have a problem with it.
Okay. Real quick last question. Different series, but Giannis. I've seen a lot of your videos about his shooting form and all that stuff, and I noticed I was watching him shoot free throws, and his free throw form is almost quote unquote normal. Whereas his game shooting form is still, broken. Is he ever going to revert back to his, natural form, or is he going to be stuck like this for a while?
Well, I would like to think that, and when you say natural form, like when he was a rookie and how it looked really good.
Right.
Yeah. I would like to think that would be possible, but it's been so long and so many years, and then you keep adding and adding and adding, and so whatever you added here and told him, contradicts what he knew back then, and then you have this it's like they're fighting each other. I don't know, man. I mean, it's possible, and there's somebody out there who could probably help him, But I don't know. I don't feel great about it at this point because he's so far into his career. He certainly shouldn't be screwing around with it like that in the middle of the season. I just think that's a mistake. But the biggest issue again with his free throws, it's the rhythm. Is he's there's no energy transfer. He straightens his legs and then there's like a pause and then he kind of tries to shoot with all arm.
Right.
And that's not how the greatest free throw shooters do it. And he had it. He had all of that built in and the way they taught him to shoot in Europe. And it's just too bad he could have been the greatest of all time if he didn't have this issue.
Because I was watching the final maybe 5 to 6 minutes of the game, even though he dropped 30, 35 or whatever it was. You can tell he didn't want to bring the ball up. He didn't have any moves to pull up for a jumper. He passed up balls. He got that hook shot that bounced in was the only shot he scored in overtime.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you say that instead of me because I got so roasted in the comments today and then in the video for pointing something like that out. But yeah, he's a 2-time MVP that doesn't get to, be the MVP at the end of the games. It's very strange to me, but I suppose the MVP is a regular season award. So that's what it is.
He seemed almost like a Ben Simmons, but even taller, even more athletic. He has no post moves. He doesn't have a great handle. You can't Euro step to the wall every single time.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, listen, he lost the ball on that when he brought it down to the floor and Blake Griffin knocked it out of his foot and they gave it back to the Bucks. That was there's a lot more calls I could have mentioned that went in the Bucks' favor that were like head scratching, like what are you doing? But it was embarrassing. He had a spin move where he loses the ball and it's on the ground. You can't do that. That's not MVP play. So yeah,
right. I do remember the spin move. He dribbled it out on his own.
It's just so and I didn't bring any of that up in the video. I could have. There's a lot. Listen, there was a list. I started to create all the Giannis ish from Game 7, and I ended up the video ended up being too long. So anyway, he's limited. There are some severe limitations to his game, and if he can fix the jump shot part, that would really help.
Okay. All right, folks. Thank you.
All right, man. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
All righty. Well, let's bring in Gordon here as the last guest, and then we'll wrap it up here. But hopefully Gordon's still there. Sorry for the huge wait, but hopefully you're there. We can chop it up. There he is. What's up, Gordon?
Hi, Coach. So I was watching the Suns game just now, and during live, and when I was in grade 11, grade 12, I actually used to be like a basketball ref.
Oh, wow.
For my high school's lower grades basketball games. So I always like to think from the referee's perspective and all the rules and that kind of stuff. So the thing that jumps out for everybody was the Patrick Beverley Devin Booker play, right? So knock it out, but technically it's off Booker. So maybe you can I don't know, is this a maybe you can talk to Ronnie Nunn tomorrow if it's possible. Maybe you can the rules should be if the ball handler had clear possession of the ball, ball in his hands, and the defender knocks it out of bounds, it should be off the defender every single time. Unless when the ball's loose, there's a clear second tip.
Right. I like that. I mean, do
you think that's possible?
I don't know if it's possible. I mean, maybe. I mean, they're always willing to experiment and change rules and whatever. Maybe, but again, because the rule is very explicit. The ball is awarded to the team who did not touch it last, right? So it's off of the guy who touched it last. And that's pretty, I don't know how that language is that language. Now you'd have to then say unless his hand was moving straight down, and the other hand, the defender hand was moving straight out. You know what I mean? I think you have to get rid of replay before you can change that rule.
Yeah, I think so too. It's really, really hard to referee, but as they say on the broadcast, first 46 minutes, every single out of bounds place probably has the little, tip at the end, and just really frustrating,
It is. And you know what? It ended up not. affecting the game in theory, right? Because if you're a Suns fan, you're the one who should be upset about that, and they won the game anyway. So that's kind of good in that respect, right? Where it wasn't so impactful that it the game wasn't won from that. But yeah, man, if the Suns had lost that game and it was like based on that play, I would feel for Suns fans without question. That would be really, really rough. So I suppose, but yeah. So the only question is like, how do you write that rule? How can you make that language clear enough? I don't know. It's so hard because then how do you know if the guy like didn't make another move with his hand, a little bit, and like is it enough to then say, well, then it really is out in the offense? I don't think it would work.
Yeah. Okay. So another question is, so the difference between the Suns and the Jazz from last series against the Clippers was DeAndre Ayton kind of like was effective on the floor and can stay on the floor even though Quinn Snyder never subbed Rudy Gobert out like in Game 6, and the difference to me was DeAndre Ayton can survive because he is actually good on offense, so they have to like force to have Zubac's on him, and which kind of like doesn't really have to play against small ball as often as Gobert was. And what jumps out to me was Rudy Gobert on offense just cannot catch the ball. And when he got like little guy on him, they try to force feed him, just cannot catch the ball. Like, I'm sure you worked with a lot of big guys as a coach. Like, why do you think there's like some big guys just cannot catch the ball? Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't know how many Jazz fans are still left following me, and so because I have pointed it out in the past that Rudy's hands are very bad. They've gotten a little bit better. He's gotten better. I want to give him credit for that. And there are methods, or like the old school methods of like trying to develop that with I mean, people talk about like juggling. They talk about firing bad passes at him over and over again until he can kind of get the feel for it. His arms are just so long, and the hands are so long, and he's so awkward as it is. He's just sort of an awkward guy. That it's just one of those things where I just think it is what it is. He's just not going to be a guy who can catch that well and control the ball that well, even on rebounds. Because to me, ball handling is all about being able to catch the ball. It's not just dribbling; it's also handling it. And he really struggles with that. The ball gets knocked out of his hands easily. Is it a strength thing? I don't know if it's a strength thing. I bet you his wrists are probably really strong and his fingers are strong. There's just a hand-eye coordination, thing that's just not there. I would imagine most coaches have tried everything to make that improve, and it's gotten a little bit better. So I think this is it. I think what we're seeing is I don't think there's any magic elixir out there that's going to somehow make his hands better.
Yeah, it's just frustrating that like an NBA player, like 7-footer, like getting MVP votes, can't even catch the ball in the lane when there's like a 6-foot guy like guarding him.
Well, you wonder why these old heads complain about the new modern game. Well, I think part of it is like you got a 2-time MVP who's limited, right? You got guys like Ben Simmons, who's a multi-time All-Star, really limited, right? So there are these examples where you have players like Rudy out there, who now like Rudy would still play in the NBA back in the 80s, 90s when it was more physical, because they did have players like that too, who were long and a little bit awkward, a bit tall, and they have a place. But I don't think that those kind of guys weren't like defensive player of the years. They weren't all-stars. They weren't like starters. And so it's an interesting case now where the game is open, a lot more open and free, where you can have an impact in a way that back in the day you needed to be more skilled if you wanted to get on that court.
Actually, like a lot of people on Twitter, like like Rudy Gobert cannot be like a starting center on a championship team. I actually kind of disagree. I still think like there's still value in using guys like Rudy Gobert, but he just like, it's kind of like chicken and egg situation. He cannot make like he can still be a starting center on a championship team, but just cannot make like a third of your cap space. And when he makes a third of your cap space, you're like kind of obligated to play him, which like you cannot sub him out, and just like,
you can find somebody who can give you 75% of his production for a third of the cost. Right.
Exactly, and you're free to sub him out. You're free to play him like whatever you want, and like situation like Rudy Gobert is, you're paying him like $40-something million, and you are obligated to play him like 38 minutes a game in playoffs.
No, I agree. I mean, I have been saying that they should trade him for a while, and And, it's hard to say because it's a small market team. They built a nice team. They can compete and they're good. And that might be enough for them. Maybe they don't, maybe a title isn't necessarily their overall end up goal anyway. They just want to be competitive and a tough out in the playoffs, which they are. And have players that, are good people in the community. And, those are all important things. And so that might end up being what they value more than anything else. And, and I can get that. But if it's a title they want, then yeah, it's not him.
Yeah, I just want to make one point about campaign. I just when I watch him shoot, I he has excellent turn on his shot. He's almost perpendicular to the basket when he shoots. A very excellent turn. I really like his shot.
Oh, I'm sorry, campaign you're talking about?
Yeah, campaign.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, but by the way, it's how his body, he can get his elbow and his shoulder aligned. In the past, they would have forced him to try and be 10 toes. His elbow would have stuck out. He never would have been a good shooter. And that's my take on it is, okay, your elbow sticks out, turn. It's still sticking out, turn more. And eventually you get what campaign does. But hey, he's doing it, and they're open, and he can have a little time. Although he had actually the best one he shot, he missed, which was almost rushed. But that rhythm I like the best because it was almost a one-motion shot. The other one's a little bit two-motion, but he's getting open because he's fast, and so that's what gives him extra time. So yeah, his turn is beautiful.
Yeah. Thanks for doing this. It's a late at night for your time, and thanks for doing this for all of us.
Thank you so much, Gordon. I appreciate it. Great talk. Take care. All right, guys. Well, that's going to be our live stream for tonight. Awesome stuff. Great way to do it. And I think we made it about 90 minutes. Awesome stuff. Thank you all for the super chats. Again, really, really generous. It does really help. I'm going to run through everyone's names again. Michael, Nelson, Neeson, Khalil, Marvin, One Star, Marvin again, Sean, D Pistons, Oliver, Neeson again, Raul, Sean, multiple. Thank you. Oscar, Raul, Javier, Andrew, D Chang, Dave, Red Gangsta, Raul, and Sean again. Thank you guys so much for the super chats. I'm glad I can get to your questions too and answer those right away. Thank you all in the comments for being part of this. It's great to see you guys. And I don't know. We'll be back again. I'll do another one of these maybe this week too. So stay tuned. Look for the community posts when I announce them, or just keep your eye out and I'll come out here and you never know when I'll just pop out there and surprise you. So, but don't forget, sports fans, at BBALL Breakdown, we're not a channel. We're a conversation. You in?